I've been watching the hearings the last 2 weeks, and they've been very interesting and very helpful to me as a Buddhist practitioner in terms of applying the Buddha's teachings to what I'm hearing and what I'm seeing. Okay, so one of the things that has really struck me is the poise and dignity of the people in the Foreign Service. Yeah. And to hear their testimonies, and they're very clear when they speak, and each one of them have said, I'm here to tell you the facts. I am not here to take sides. And they really stick to that, even though sometimes the people who are questioning them want them to say a conclusion or jump to one side or the other. But they are very resolute in saying, we practice under presidents from who are both Republican and Democrat. We are not partisan, in the work we do. And to see how they really stick by that and how beautiful that is to see, that they really know their own country, they know their own situation. But they have a very strong feeling of serving the people, specifically our country. But in watching the people who worked in the Ukrainian embassy, they cared about the people in Ukraine too, and they saw the common benefit that would come from the U.S. enacting certain policies. So it was very uplifting for me to see people in government service who really had integrity and who stuck by their integrity and were so composed when they were speaking, even when sometimes the people who asked questions were rude or interrupted them, didn't give them a chance to answer the question that had been asked or whatever. They didn't lose their cool, They just, if somebody interrupted, they stopped talking. They waited until the person was done. At one time, one politician was going on and on and on and on, giving his opinion for quite a long time, even though it was a Q&A session. And at the end, Marie Ivanovich just kind of paused and she said, was there a question there? She wasn't mad. She wasn't sarcastic, And the same thing happened yesterday with Fiona Hill. The same person was going on and kept interrupting her. And the person who had the gavel kept on having to hammer the gavel and tell that one particular representative, be quiet, because Hill had to speak and he kept interrupting. But Hill every time he interrupted, she just stopped speaking. She let the chairman take care of it. She didn't put anybody down. She didn't get angry. And so to watch them, it was really a good example. Sunland was different. He's clearly not a professional diplomat, and hadn't been trained as one. But all the others were. And it really gave me much more knowledge about the State Department and more respect for what these people do. And to learn from watching their behavior, how to act myself in situations. Because as soon as you get emotional and you start, talking from that emotional viewpoint, it becomes, of course, people get more excited emotionally, but the ability to communicate when you have different views goes way down at that time. Whereas if you're able to stay calm and you just stick to the fact and not your theories about this and that and not, things that are untrue, then the discussion goes much better and there can be some communication. Watching this whole thing too, it made very clear to me, if we are attached to only the happiness of this life, specifically to reputation, fame, power, luxury, then that attachment will cause us to create situations that are so sticky and so difficult that turn out harming us and harming other people. And it all comes because of craving and attachment. And so to be really careful, because success in our world, what do we think of as success? Fame, great reputation, you have power, everybody knows you, you're important. But then you can see what a mess attachment to having all of this creates, for all these people involved in the situation. And so, this is really a teaching on avoiding the 8 worldly concerns. Yeah, because here you see it in living technicolor, what happens when you follow the 8 worldly concerns. What also became quite evident, and that I saw very much through the Dharma perspective, was the importance of speech. And when we talk about the 4 types of speech to abandon and the 4 types to practice, to abandon lying and to speak the truth, to abandon words that divide people and instead speak things that unify and bring harmony, to avoid insulting and denigrating individuals and instead praise them and speak of their good qualities and encourage them, and to avoid idle talk and gossip and instead speak about what's appropriate. And so it was so clear during the hearings when you heard people or when the information that was presented, the disadvantages of lying. Oh my goodness, it creates total havoc in our society. And that's what has, nobody knows who or what to believe anymore because there's so much lying coming from the top down. The people, the politicians, the corporate leaders, the people who should be the leaders in society and set a good example, unfortunately, their ethical conduct is not up to par. And it opens the door for the rest of us to behave abominably. You could see in the hearings also when people were using divisive speech and, how it just created so much tension. And and this is the polarization in our society, because instead of really talking about points we have in common, instead of wanting to collaborate, people are wanting to say, you're wrong, I'm right, And then it's so hilarious. The Democrats are accusing the Republicans of conspiracy theories, and the Republicans are accusing Democrats of having conspiracy theories. What is the definition of a conspiracy theory now? I don't know. It came up in the hearings, people were being asked, are you a never Trumper? They would ask these State Department people, are you a never Trumper? And their reply was always, I'm not sure I know what a never Trumper is. Yeah. And I'm not sure after watching all this, I do either, because apparently it's a bad thing. Being called a never Trumper is, from the Republican side, that means that you're a horrible human person you're a horrible person. Today, actually, the president tweeted, he called the Democrats human scum, which was often what Hitler called the Jews, human scum. So this kind of talk, in society, I think of children who are just learning language, and then they learn that this is an acceptable way to speak to other people. And I think another reason for it is that people watch too many movies. And in movies, they always show people quarreling and fighting because this stirs up emotion. This makes the movie interesting. And if they don't have some kind of emotional climactic point, every 3 or 4 minutes, people are going to turn the movie off. Okay. So then everybody's watching these movies where people yell and scream, call each other names, make false accusations, lie, and then this becomes normal because you see it on the movies, and then you see it from the people who are supposedly the leaders in society. So it became quite evident to me, to really how careful we need to be with our speech, and to really look at when we say something, are we exaggerating something? Are we saying this so it looks this way, but we actually mean something the opposite, So it is true that you have to explain things in language that other people can understand. That's true. But we have to be speaking the truth at the same time, and not this kind of language that causes people to hate and fear each other. Yeah, because it just destroys us as individuals. It destroys society. Yeah. So that the whole thing about speech was another thing I really learned, watching this. And then also, what I thought a lot about was here you have this people, many of them, are the most educated people in society, acting in the way that is most foolish, So you see, education and being smart don't go together. But to step back and look, and it's like these people have no idea about karma. They have no idea that their words are putting imprints on their own mind. There was one guy questioning. Every time he did, he just pontificated, he interrupted, he screamed, he yelled. He has no idea what he's doing to himself and the causes he's creating for his own future lives. And everybody else there, nobody has kind of that perspective of, of future lives, or of, my current actions having an ethical dimension that are going to bring a result in terms of my own experience, and that result could come later in a very magnified form. It's not just, I can say these words and trash somebody now, and then all my colleagues congratulate me and I'm one of the club. That's not the result of speaking harshly, because you do that. And if you think the result is okay, yeah, then all my friends think I'm great, then you'll keep doing it. But they'd have no idea, about karma and the causes they're creating. No idea about rebirth. No idea about, the value of being compassionate to other people. I'm sure many of these people, or all of them, are compassionate to the people they care about, to their loved ones. But they don't see the value of, or don't, most of them, I can't generalize for everybody, see the value of a compassionate society. Yeah. Because it's so much divided, my team and us and them and like this. So it was all a very good example for me of to be very careful of certain attitudes and behavior arising in myself. Yeah, because I could see so clearly what happens. It was really like an incredible Lam teaching, watching all of this. Yeah, I could see very clearly. And what also I was happy about was I was able to watch this and I didn't get angry. Some time ago, I would get really exasperated with it all. Okay. But this time, especially when I was able to step back and say, they don't understand anything about, dukkha and the cause of dukkha and the cessation and the path. And, all you can do is feel compassion, and respect the people in the hearings who had a sense of integrity and were acting, were refraining from negative speech, and were speaking with a kind voice towards others, So to really see this and know, okay, this is, it's a Lamra movie for me, teaching me.